Good morning, dear children. In today's class, we will continue with the chapter Australia, Location, Area, Political and Physical Features. In the previous class, we had learnt about the location of Australia in the southern hemisphere and the major water bodies like the Pacific, Indian and the Southern Ocean surrounding it, making it a island continent. We also learnt about the various names given to Australia, that is the Commonwealth of Australia, which is the official name of Australia. Apart from the names given in the book, I had given a question, and here I would wholeheartedly like to appreciate the amazingly creative names given by most of you in your homework, like the baby continent or the rabbit continent or mouse continent according to the shape. One most interesting was the whale. Some child had actually written that it resembles a whale with a horn which seems to be chasing the continent of Tasmania. So true and so beautifully described. It was a real treat to read those marvelous answers. Please continue the good work, children. In the previous class, you had also made a map marking the 6 states and the 2 territories along with the capital of Australia. We also discussed the important capital cities and their tourist attraction landmarks. I hope we all have learned their location up till now. In a week's time, we should have learned all of them. This is mandatory to learn, children. Please do learn the names of the states, capital, and their location in the map itself. And as it was suggested that in the next class we will be marking the water bodies of Australia, I hope everybody is well prepared with their map and their colored pencils to mark. Here, children, this is the map, and I hope everybody has downloaded and got a printout of it. Now, the first thing that we need to mark in this map is to write the heading, and that is the water bodies of Australia. I would prefer if everybody uses a blue pen to write so that it is clearly and distinctively seen on your map, which already has too much of black outlining. So it's preferable to use a blue color to write the names of the places that we are going to mark. And in this map, we are going to mark the water bodies. So it's absolutely perfect to write with the blue color. So the first water body that we are going to mark is the Indian Ocean. Children, to mark the Indian Ocean just onto the eastern coast of Australia, right in the center, you can make a single line. Now, why am I asking you to make it in the center? If you look at your world map, children, you will see that along the entire western coast of Australia, you have the Indian Ocean. So here, if we write it here in the center, we can't write everywhere that it's an Indian Ocean. Right in the center, we'll just write the Indian Ocean and make sure we shade it properly blue. Children, it is always preferable to do your entire labeling in any map in capital letters so that it is very clear and you do not make mistakes in the spellings. Now, as I said, this entire western portion, it has the Indian Ocean, but we just can't shade everything blue and make our map look untidy. So we'll just shade the name so that we already know that this is the Indian Ocean and it has to be shaded blue in color, light blue. Here, children, this much of shading is enough for you to know that this is your Indian Ocean and you actually know the correct position of this water body where it lies along the Australian western coast. The next one we are going to mark is the Timor Sea. We are going clockwise. I'm not going to mark the most important ones first or any of the rivers or the lakes. We're just going to go clockwise and then we'll be marking all the water bodies around Australia and in Australia. Here I would request most of you, if you have any difficulty following me, you can open your books to page 137 also, because in this map also all the water bodies have been marked. But if you're going along with me, it's absolutely fine. You can do that. Or if you don't have the book, you can also open your atlas and you can go along with that also. But here now we are going to mark, as it has been given in your books also, the Timor Sea. The same way we are going to mark it in the map. Here, children, you can mark your time or see like this. I hope everybody is working along with me because I'll be requesting you to post your water body map on the GCR after the class. As soon as I finish along with me, you also should be finishing. So the next one after time or say we'll be marking the Arafura Sea here right on top of this. Here neatly write ARAFURA and SEA Arafura Sea, shaded properly blue, not too much. You should just know that this is the water body. We're not making our maps untidy by shading everything blue. Children, the same thing has been given in your maps on page 137. That is the Arafura Sea that we've just marked. The next most important water body that we are going to mark is the Gulf of Carpentaria. The next water body that we are marking is Gulf of Carpentaria. Here. Now what is a gulf? Gulf is an inlet of the sea of large aerial proportion, and it is more indented. That means it is moving further down into the landmass area, like unlike the bays, and they are also more enclosed. That means they have narrow the enclosing coastlines along it are enclosing it more, and therefore it is moving deeper into the coastline of the land surface area. That actually differentiates it from the bay. That it's just the opposite of the bay, because bay is much more open and a curving indentation, whereas gulfs are more enclosed and they are more indented. That means they move towards inwards towards the coastline. So I hope everybody does remember, because we've done that in class 6 also, the entire description of gulf. And now here we've marked the Gulf of Carpentaria. You can see the water body has moved into inwards towards the coastline of Australia, and it has cut out a nice indentation. That means a deep groove has been cut out by this water body that is called the Gulf, and it has been named the Gulf of Carpentaria. It is along the northern portion of Australia, and it is bounded by the eastern portion of Arafura Sea. The northern boundary it has Queensland in the northeast. Now we have already marked our capital cities, and we already know the political division. So we already know that Queensland is there in the northeast, this area, and Northern Territory in the western portion. So if we are looking at Gulf of Carpentaria, it has major here. This is what I was talking about the states, that it is Queensland is in the northeast, and you have Northern Territory in the west of Gulf of Carpentaria, this area. I hope everybody has marked it by now, so we can move further. Here, children, this is the next water body, that is the Torres Strait. Right on top of the Cape York Peninsula, we have marked, and we will be marking the peninsula also when we'll be marking the relief features. Sorry, yes, and we will be marking this Cape York Peninsula. So make sure you write your Torres Strait right on top of your Cape of Peninsula. Now, what is a strait? A strait is a narrow stretch of water that joins two large water bodies. But this name seems to be very peculiar. And this name is actually given after a voyager or a navigator named Luis de Torres. His name was Luis de Torres, who passed the strait in 1606. And from him, this name has been given to this water body. Just to honor the navigator or the explorer, this name has been given. And here when I said that strait is a narrow stretch of water that joins two large water bodies, when I had said that, then it means I am going to join two large water bodies. One water body is the Gulf of Carpentaria, and which is the next water body that we are going to mark? We are going to mark the Coral Sea here. So what does this strait becomes? It becomes a narrow passage of water which will be connecting the Coral Sea with the Gulf of Carpentaria. So when we understand the meaning of this word strait, that it is a narrow stretch of water body that joins two large water bodies. If we are saying that, then we need to understand it in the map also, that which two water bodies it's being joined by the Torres Strait. It is joining the Gulf of Carpentaria along with the Coral Sea. Here, now we have already marked the Coral Sea also. So we clearly know that Torres Strait is an open passage connecting the Gulf of Carpentaria, water of Gulf of Carpentaria along with the water of Coral Sea. Now why is it called the Coral Sea? Because you have the coral reef here. We'll be doing that in complete detail, so don't worry. Proceeding with the labeling of the water bodies on the map of Australia, the next water body is the South Pacific Ocean, which we can mark because it is along the entire eastern coast of Australia. Uh, you have the South Pacific Ocean. So let's shade it also neatly, and then we'll move ahead with the Tasman Sea. I hope we all have shaded the South Pacific Ocean neatly by now. Moving ahead, we will be marking or labeling the Tasman Sea. Now, children, understand the location of Tasman Sea. Now, Tasman Sea is a marginal sea of the South Pacific Ocean. It is along the margins of the South Pacific Ocean, and it is situated between Australia and New Zealand. New Zealand, as we had already seen in our previous maps. Here, if we look at the world map, you can see Australia here and New Zealand here. In between these two, you have the Tasman Sea. So please write this out here and shade it neatly. While all of you are shading, let me tell you about the name, where it comes from, or why is this name given to it. Actually, this sea was named after a Dutch explorer, Abel Jansen Tasman, who was the first recorded European to encounter New Zealand and Tasmania. Now, Tasmania is also the continent that we have, the island we have already marked here, Tasmania. So, he was the first explorer or the navigator who could actually give the names or tell the entire world about the existence of New Zealand and Tasmania in the world. So, thus, this name was given to honor him. The next water body that we'll be marking in the entire clockwise manner will be your Encounter Bay. And after an Encounter Bay, we'll be marking the Spencer Gulf. Now here again, you can see a clear demarcation between a bay and a gulf. Now we had been discussing. Let me write the names first. All of you can also write with me. Here in this map also, it's very clearly shown that this is your bay and this is your gulf. Before writing, please make sure you follow the way I have written, because that will make your work easier, neater, and you will have no problem in identifying which one is where, because most of the children in the previous sessions have been confused that which one is which during the exam. So make very, very clear arrows along your Spencer Bay, neatly write it below, and you already know the deeper indentation is a gulf. You make an arrow here, neatly write gulf, and then shade only the names or only the areas which we are going to do. So please make sure you follow what I am doing. Till now we had been shading the names that we had written, but here we will not shade the names because we have not written the names in the correct area. We have only made the arrow and written below because the space is less here. So the shading will be along the bay and along the gulf, not onto the names at all. Please don't make that mistake. Here, children, you can take a note of it that you have only shaded the bay and the gulf. To make your definition clear again about the bay and gulf, I will be repeating it. A gulf is an inlet of the sea of large areal proportion, that you can easily see that, while a bay is an open curving indentation made by the sea or a lake. Now, which water body is here? We have the Southern Ocean here. We'll be writing that also. But this entire water body which is moving inwards, and the gulf is more indented, that you can see the difference. The gulf is an open curving indentation, while this one is a deeper indentation, so it is called a gulf. And a very open or a wider one is known as a bay. Although both of them are water bodies, but you should know the correct difference between both of them. So now we'll be writing the Southern Ocean out here. Now here, exactly like this, we'll be writing the Southern Ocean and shading it a little blue because we don't want to make our maps messy, but we want to make sure that we know the correct position or the location of the ocean. So we have shaded this much of an area only. Now we have covered the entire water bodies which were surrounding Australia. Now it's time to move inside Australia and mark the major water bodies. So the first one will be the Lake Eyre. To mark the Lake Eyre, we will neatly make an arrow because it's a very small salt lake. So we'll mark an arrow, neatly write the labeling outside and shade the lake itself. We will not shade the labeling, but we will only shade the portion of the lake. Here we have neatly shaded the lake and written Lake Eyre along with it with an arrow. Now children, if you see in your maps, you can see your Lake Eyre is in South Australia. That is the northern portion of your South Australia. If you see the location, it is right above your, as you all can see, Lake Eyre is in the northern portion of South Australia. Right above or 700 kilometers above your Adelaide, and we had all marked our political map and we already know the position of South Australia and Adelaide as the capital. Now to know more about Lake Eyre. Lake Eyre is a very shallow salt lake and but it is the largest lake in Australia. But we should all know that Australia is the world's driest continent. So there are very few rivers, and for the lake, this is the largest lake, but it is also a shallow, salty lake. That means it can actually dry up also, and when the entire water evaporates. But it also is completely filled with water because it's very shallow. So in the rainy season, it is completely filled with water. But what is most interesting about this lake is the official name which has been given in around 2012 only. Very recently it was given the name Kati Thanda, that is Katithanda. So that is the official name of Lake Eyre or Eyre, whatever way you want to pronounce it. Now this name, the new name, official name, was actually the oldest name which was given to it by the Aborigines or the native people who were living there. The Lake Eyre was actually given to honor the explorer Edward John Eyre, who was the first European to see it in 1840. And the lake's official name now has been changed, or it actually has been added to the Lake Eyre, that is Kati Thanda, which was the native title of the lake, and it had been given by the native people of Australia, or specifically the natives were the Arbana people, if you want to know it in detail. And it is also one of the languages, that is Arbana is also a language of South Australia. So those are the native people who were actually living out there, and they had given the name Katithanda to it. So now it has been added to this title of Lake Eyre. Proceedingly, now we will be doing our, or we'll be marking our three, or in fact four major rivers of Australia. So I would request everyone to open their color boxes and take out three shades of one pink, one purple and one orange. Blue we already have here. You can also use a dark blue color if you have. Let us name the rivers first in our maps. So the first river that we will be marking is the River Murray. Now the River Murray is the longest permanent flowing river of the Australia, that is the southeastern Australia. So here we are neatly writing River Murray, and to make sure we are following the correct line or the flow of the river along its course, we will just mark three arrows so that we do not get mixed up with any other line, that is River Murray. because all the other rivers are just meeting this river Murray. So first and foremost, we'll be marking river Murray neatly with any of the colors, that is orange, purple. Preferably you take orange so that it is clearly demarcated. Although rivers are only supposed to be marked with blue, but just to make sure that we are clearly understanding the course of each river, we'll be shading them with different colors. So here we are using orange color to mark the course of river Murray. Here children, I hope all of you are marking your river Murray neatly, and while you are marking, you can listen to me that as I already said, your river Murray is in the southeastern portion of Australia. This is your eastern coast, this is your southern coast. Now this is Australia's longest river in length, and its tributaries include five most important rivers of Australia. They are also the longest rivers of Australia because they are meeting Murray and joining into it. And the most important tributaries that we will be marking in our map are Murrumbidgee, Lachlan and Darling. The two which we are not marking is Warrego and Paro rivers. Otherwise, it becomes very complicated to understand. So, all these rivers create a catchment area which forms the Murray-Darling Basin area. We'll be discussing that when we'll be doing it in the text thoroughly. So I hope all of us can neatly write Murrumbidgee, River Lachlan and Darling. Now we'll be shading all three separate with the separate colors so that we do not get mixed as to which course of river is which one. Now children, you can see that River Darling I have shaded with the pink color, River Lachlan has been shaded with the purple, and River Murrumbidgee with the light blue color. And our river Murray we had already shaded with the orange color. Now just to make sure that you see the colors clearly, I had to put a whitener over the course of the river so that the colors are clearly distinctive. It is advised that you take out a printout which is not too dark, and if it is dark then please make sure you do not smudge the color that you are using, or you do not change the course of the river or make it so thick so that the color is visible. Otherwise it will not be marked correct while you are pointing your rivers in the map, because any shading which goes out of the course or which is not along the course is not marked correct. To show it to you clearly, now in this big map of river, the rivers have been clearly marked here, as you can see in this map which I have made, and you can see the River Murray, River Murrumbidgee, Lachlan and Darling. The River Darling is joining River Murray. River Lachlan is also joining. So, and River Murrumbidgee also. All of these are the tributaries of River Murray, and therefore this becomes the largest drainage system of Australia. We will do all of these terms in detail also. I hope your map is complete by now and it looks exactly like this. I would really request all of you to post it on the GCR and to mail it to your respective teachers. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed marking the map with me. If you have any questions, please put them on GCR or you can WhatsApp me also. Thank you so much, children.